Hi, this is Alken, and welcome back to my channel. And got an interesting story from New York One or Spectrum One. Uh, Seeing that you get some Democrats in upstate New York or anywhere in New York telling the governor not to send state tax dollars to the federal government. Uh, it's sounding like a bad idea already as it is. Well, let's get into this. Let's see, where is it? It's from, like I said, New York One. Hochul has no plans to cut state spending, seek cell ban, mental health changes, but the big thing was they want her not to send money to the federal government. With the annual April 1st state budget deadline looming, and a good chance it will come and gone, Governor Kathy Hochul says she's warning New Yorkers about possibly federal funding cuts to major services, including Medicaid programs and school lunches. Another anti-threat. Meanwhile, a group of Albany Democrats want her to fight back by refusing to send regular scheduled state tax dollars to the White House. Isn't that lovely? $93 billion will not be made up by the state of New York. It will not be made up by any state, Hochul said on Monday during an Albany-based press conference in the state capitol building. New York Democrats is warning healthcare and education programs could be crippled if Washington, D.C. may go on a threat to cut off a flow of federal dollars. It's for wasteful programs. These are not wasteful programs unless it's proven. School nutrition programs, school lunch programs, a lot of these kids are going to have their stomachs growing through the day if they don't have that money, she says. Isn't that something like congested pricing? Although roughly one-third of the New York spending comes from federal dollars, so far, Hatchet Hochul had no plans to slim down her $252 billion spending plan known as the state budget. Deals with the budget with the facts we have in front of us, but nothing prohibits us from coming back in a special session to deal with anything that comes our way from the federal government, she explains. Some fiscal experts also slamming the approach. Albany is pretending that it's not going to be those Trump cuts because they don't want to be blamed for belt tightening before it's necessary, because they all know that the schools, the hospitals, and all labor unions would then criticize them and not Trump. John Kahini, I can't pronounce these names, executive director of the Reinvent Albany, a government watchdog group, says. But two lawmakers think Hochul should go on the offense and withhold New York's federal tax payments while they wait for Washington to blink. When did Washington blink so far? It's been on the road, folks. There ain't no blinking. Unless you're talking about lights blinking from the airports. They co-sponsored two bills recently introduced into the state legislature. They're not into reality. They're still in the denial. We are going to be creative and aggressive in standing up for the state and fighting the Trump administration. Funny, that's what California said too, before they completely whatever the hell the word means. They gave in. Maine gave in. What makes you think New York is not going to cave in too? After all, asked Chuck Schumer. We are not going to roll over in the face of accelerating creep of fascism that is taking hold in Washington. Assemblyman May Laser, A Manhattan Democrat says, laser or lazy. And if I mispronounce your name wrong, it's on purpose. The first step will be us leaning on our state controller, Tom Napoli, to tripling all the money that is we already expect and receive down to the last cent from the federal government. Queens Democrat state senator, and mayoral candidate Jessica Ramos says, I don't care if she is. I'm not supporting. I'm supporting people on the right for mayor. So no Democrats. They also had legislation that, if passed, will let recently fired federal employees get jobs in state government and recuperate a portion of the lost federal pension. Excuse me, but you just fired 2,000 correction officers for striking, but instead of going to look for more correction officers to man your prisons, you want to hire federal employees that got recently fired. Make that make sense, because you can't. And this nonsense about recuperating a portion of their lost federal pension? You don't even want to improve your pensions of the New York City Transit employees. They had the worst pension in the state of New York. The worst. The worst piece of garbage pension that you can muster. The worst. I mean, at least a police officer at 20 years of service, he can collect a pension. But he doesn't mean he's going to get it right away, unless he's that age. Otherwise, he could just get another state job and get double. We can't do that. Ooh. We can expect them either to hold funding hostage for their reactionary ideology program or simply cut it because New York State does not hold a place in favor of the eye of the Trump administration. Lasher added. This guy couldn't add if it's like dependent on it. You could have a calculator in front of him and he still can't add. A spokesperson for the state controller also said that the legislation is being reviewed. But Hochul on Monday said she is still pursuing big-ticket items like an all-out ban on cell phones in schools. So when there's a shooter in the building, how are they going to call for help? With tin cans? Changing mental health laws, making it easier for prosecutors to hand over case evidence, and instituting a mask-wearing ban, and prove billions of dollars for the MTA fixes. Yes, they're an addict, and the MTA needs its fix. But of course, it's not including helping transit employees, is it? She wants to help federal employees, but she don't want to help her own employees. Make that make sense. I say to those tier 1, got about 150 in tier 2, but a lot of these can also break loose and be dealt with the legislature session, Hochul said, describing the state of negotiations. The only thing I could think of tier is the pension system tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, 4, 5, 6. One is worse than the other. She blamed the sole place on the 213 members and options within the Democrat-led legislature. In other words, not Republicans are causing this, Democrats. Yes, they're eating each other up. And I don't mean in a sexual way. Just ask Chuck Schumer again. The challenge is that the leaders take everything we talk about now, or they now have to go back to the conferences. That's just the nature state of play, Hochul said. It's not a football game. And that's about it. What really royal pissing me off, she just fired 2,000 employees that were on strike during the correction officer wildcat strike. But instead of looking for more correction officers, she went to hire federal employees. Are these federal employees going to be going into the prison system and doing correctional work? Hell no. And the fact that she says she's going to help them recuperate some of their pension losses is absolutely ridiculous. You have a problem with your own pension system. You're not providing trans employees what they're entitled to or need. Was the worst pension of all the civil servants people in New York. And then on top of that, you have liabilities with your pension system. And I still believe you still have an unfunded MAP Stoller pension that you hadn't resolved that yet after all these years. And then on top of that, you're trying to shut down prisons, making the situation worse for the corrections officers that are still left behind. And then Tito, you went up there recently for lobby day hoping for changes. They getting rid of Opto, one-person train operation. It needs to be, because if you look, it's not producing the savings that they claim it is. I mean, the worst part is you got the G line operating a very short train, 4 cars. Even in rush hour, people are overwhelming riding these trains. You got 6-car load of passengers trying to squeeze into a 4-car train. Also, that some superintendent could get an outdoor bonus on the weekend. Make that make sense. You can't. Then you got the Franklin shuttle operating a 2-car train. What happens when you get rid of all the 68s? You can't fit even a 4-car train anymore in some of these stations on the Franklin shuttle, because the Botanical Garden station is only have enough room for a 2-car 75-footer train. I mean, they can fit in. They can fit in what's that station? Prospect Park. They can fit in the next station. Besides Botanical Gardens, they can fit in Franklin Avenue, but they cannot fit in Botanical Gardens. They shortened it enough for a 2-car train. You cannot fit a 4-car train. They shortened this platform unnecessary because they thought the 75-footers were going to be here to stay. And lo and behold, all the car orders that came after the 68As are now 60 feet a car. So your platform can fit a 150-foot train. A 3-car 143 to 211 can only fit, what, 180 feet? That's 30 feet over the limit at that station. That means you have to spend money to expand the platform. And I know it's not going to be a wooden extension. You have to make concrete. And of course, you don't run 3-car trains. So now you add a 4th car, 6, 12, 18, 240 feet versus a platform 150 feet. You can't extend. None of this budget make any sense. They fired the corrections officers. They're still looking for corrections officers, but the reality is they might have to hire these people back. And an expense. So, And they're still facing tail law charges, which is ridiculous. Because the state caused this problem in the first place, the state should be paying for the strike. The state should be paying for this. Kathy Hochul should be in jail. She should be facing charges, and the state legislature, for allowing the conditions to occur. And she still wants to close down more prisons. I think, you know what? You need a federal takeover of the prison system in New York State. Not just Rikers, the whole state. None of this budget here makes any sense. And you know they're going to go past April 1st, as always. So you might as well think of the world's greatest April Fool joke that lasts 365 days a year, and that's the state of New York. So this is Al Ken saying so long for now. Don't forget to stop.